You're listening to the COVID-19 series of Bridge the Gap podcast. This series is designed to provide resources, share the love stories, and encourage those who are working tirelessly to oversee the care of aging adults. We believe in you.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap podcast, the senior living podcast with Josh and Lucas on our COVID-19 special series, continuing to bring on thought leaders in the industry to bring you up-to-date information that can both help you today, educate you, and encourage you. So today we've got an awesome guest on the program. We've got Austin Steele. He's an RVP of Ops at American Senior Communities. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate you guys having me.
We're glad that you're here. So American Senior Communities up in Indiana. We've been connected with you via our great friends at NRC. We had a chance to spend some time with you at their conference last year. We both learned a lot and had a great time together. And it's exciting now to bring you on the program, even given the circumstances that we're in. There's many challenges out there. And one of the main topics of the reason why we're reaching out to you is because you guys are doing a great job with communication. And we know that via the actual measured feedback that you're getting. Can you talk to us about how that is transpiring?
Sure. So, some of the things that we've tried to do is we've tried to take this, kind of proactive approach. I mean, obviously it's a very challenging time. And so, as we look at the changes that have happened from people being limited to when they could come in, certain time frames, to being screened when they were coming in, to very quickly and very rapidly to where there's no visitation. And obviously, these are, people's loved ones that they care for tremendously. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to take this proactive approach and very intentional approach about trying to connect with each of our resident family members. We have a care companion program, and we've challenged in each one of those communities that care companion needs to reach out and be very intentional with, hey, these are the things that we're doing. This is how we're screening people. These are the things that we're assessing for, talking about temperatures and the things that we're doing and communicating with our physicians and our nurses, et cetera. And sometimes this is a non-clinical person that's making this phone call. It might be the maintenance guy, but he's doing his best. And at the end of the day, hopefully he has a relationship with that person. And so ultimately we're trying to explain to them, hey, here is everything that we're trying to do to make sure that your loved one is cared for the best that we can. And I think that, being intentional with them has a couple of things. I think that it's, increased our communication with our resident family members, but then I think that it's also just building trust too, because we're being proactive and trying to say that, hey, we know this is an unsettling time. We know you have a lot of questions, and here's what we're trying to do. So those are, a little bit of, some of the things that we're trying to connect with our families on.
Wow, this is, I love that you're doing that. What an awesome example it is to all of us that are listening and kind of learning as we go here. Talk to us a little bit more, because the idea of building trust, we've said it and we know it's true. Surveys have even indicated this, that these families that you're communicating with, they have placed their most valuable asset in our care, in your care. So the transparency of communication through what you refer to as your, I think you said companion program, to where it sounds like there's a whole list of people. This is just not tasked with like a nurse or an administrator. It sounds like you've got a lot of people involved in this communication. Can you kind of outline what that program looks like broadly?
Sure. So kind of a broad view on that program is each one of our department leaders in our building, they have certain residents that they are to connect with. So, you take a big, a larger amount of people and kind of break it down. And each department head then, has somebody that they're responsible for. They should be checking in on them on a daily basis. So really, the goal is that, a lot of buildings, if you're in the industry, you have, what you might call your morning meeting or your stand-up meeting, et cetera, that starts in the morning, and I know that that's a little bit technical jargon there a little bit, but really, it's by that time, you should have a good pulse on how your resident's doing, how your companion is doing, how was their day yesterday, what's going on with them, and then continuing to touch base with them throughout the day. And then being intentional about connecting with those families, with those loved ones, so that they know, if somebody is, coming in, the first person that they should be going to is, that care companion. So I reference like a maintenance director. It's not just the nurse that's in charge of that resident. It goes down to, our environmental folks, the people that work in culinary. It can be somebody in our business office. They're developing those relationships. They have those relationships, and the family members then hopefully feel comfortable with those people, that if there, is something, they can check on them. And then they're also getting those touch points from that care companion of just saying like, hey, I checked in on mom and dad today, and guess what? They're doing good. They seem to have a good day. Here's what they said that they did yesterday. If you haven't talked to them, and I think that overall communication with them, I think has encouraged the family members. And I think that it is, building trust with them. And we've tried to take a hyperactive approach on this right now, that the more that we can communicate, hopefully the better. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you hit on it. Their most important asset is with us, right? And we're trying to take care of them, and they're not able to come in and see those people. And so we're trying to make sure that we can communicate what's going on, how mom or dad is doing, how grandma's doing. Ultimately, then they have a good pulse as to what's going on, even though they can't come in.
Well, kudos to you guys for building out such an exceptional communication platform and being ready to have an existing platform to communicate when things like this that you really can't plan for happen. And then being very intentional through this and transparent. So another, I think, important thing that I'd like you to speak to a little bit is, while a lot of people may think during time like this, you really only hear bad things. We're actually hearing good things. It sounds like you guys are hearing a ton of good things, and that's feedback. So maybe talk to us about some of your mechanisms for how you're tracking, how you're doing, and what the outcomes have been through this difficult time.
Sure. I mean, so, when we talk about, how we're, tracking some of that, we use various amounts of platforms. I mean, obviously we've got, great partners with NRC that, they're reaching out to our resident family members, and, we're getting back, our customer feedback, and we're getting that directly. We get that information in real time. I mean, so if somebody leaves feedback to us, we've got it, in our organization in a matter of minutes. So, that's really encouraging for us. We get to kind of track that mechanism over our entire company, so we can see the entire portfolio. And then, it's also been amazing too that, the media, although, there's a lot of scrutiny, really there's been a lot of positive. We've seen more and more positive reviews as we've moved forward in some of this, and we're getting news stories about how we're doing communications, and we've had horses that are visiting outside our communities and going door to door or window to window, I guess, in our communities, and that's just new things that are happening that every day that it's like, wow, we've never done that before, and the residents love it, and it's a new way that we're able to connect with residents. So I am encouraged too, just, as you look at, in the future, some of the interactions of what our, normal day-to-day looks like, obviously will be changed. And I think that there'll be new ways that we're connecting with residents as we move forward as well.
I love hearing that, because it just, in these challenging times, there's created a great opportunity to be innovative, which, think that the senior living industry, it is a creative group of people. They are innovative, and sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap that they, not adopting technology and things like that. But right now, everybody's being forced into this funnel to really be creative and come up with these things. So I imagine with all these new creative ideas and all of the great communication, it certainly helps alleviate the anxiety and a lot of the questions that the family members have. But I know that they still do have questions. What are some of the big questions that have bubbled up or come up in your talks with communities and families right now?
Yeah, no, great. I mean, great question. I mean, we have been getting a lot of feedback about, hey, what exactly are you doing to try to protect, mom and dad, or what are you doing to protect, the residents? And so, we've kind of taken an approach of just being very open and very honest with what we've done. I mean, we've created an entire web page, dedicated to, what we're doing from a, COVID-19, updates. And we've got a frequently asked questions section of that website. And then we can also, we can take that, we can share that with our employees. They can share that, with the resident family members, but it also allows, just a venue that if you're going and you're trying to find out about, what we're doing, it's outlined very clear as to, what we're doing to try to, protect everybody, because, we're trying to build this cocoon around each one of our communities, of just, or a bubble of just saying, like, we don't want, keep it out. And so that's the biggest challenge, and so we've got a lot of questions about, hey, what are you doing? And so we're able to answer those. We've got a pretty robust system as to what we're doing, and, increased cleaning and screenings and temperatures and respiratory assessments and all these things that we're doing for our residents. We're able to communicate those to our resident family members, and ultimately they're appreciative of that, but, sometimes if we're not being proactive, they don't know what we're doing.
So Austin, we've talked a lot about the resident, the family communication, the intentionality there and transparency. A lot of questions, I'm sure, as you and these team members are on the front lines, what is it like communication kind of internally with your team, keeping them motivated, encouraged, them feeling safe? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, no. As we've looked at, what communication looks like, there is, we're very fortunate. We've got, over 88 communities that we manage pretty much in one geographic state. So, our density is pretty great. Although it stretches this, great state of Indiana, but we've really, same thing, as we've increased communication to, our resident family members, we've also increased communication to our teams. So I'm hosting daily conference calls. Actually, same platform that I'm using a Zoom meeting. And we're seeing face to face, because I'm not able to get into the communities as much as what I was, and we're spending a lot of time making sure that we're just communicating with them on a daily touch point, where previously, you may not have that daily, Zoom meeting, but you're able to be in the communities more frequently. And we have a lot of support system that's able to get out there, so it's also really, I think, as an organization, we've got, a task force that's in charge of, the COVID task force. So we've done a lot of things internally, and we've brought a lot of people from our support teams, on board on these different groups. And so it's been very, very intentional about what we're doing, and then very intentional about making sure that we're communicating that, to our community leaders, because the more that they can be educated, the more that we can share that information with our customers, or with our residents, and with our resident family members.
I love that. Well, thank you to you and your team for what you're doing to protect the elders and the families, the intentional communication that's building that trust. And while this spotlight is thrust on us, we really appreciate the healthcare heroes that you guys are. And we definitely believe in you, all that you're doing. And thanks for taking time with us today.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, and appreciate what you guys are doing too, to just kind of spread that good news. I know that, we're out here fighting the good fight, and we appreciate you guys.
Another great example of another great operator that is really doing well at this, and we really do appreciate your time, and our thoughts and prayers are with all the operators out there, the people that are on the front lines and caring and doing this work. And we know that you're up to the challenge and doing a great job. Let us know if you need anything, and we wish all of our listeners in the Bridge the Gap Network a great day. Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bridge the Gap podcast, the COVID-19 series. If your company, community, or caregivers are going above and beyond in their daily duties, we want to hear about it. Tag BTG Voice on social media or send us a message at btgvoice.com.